Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
We are just 1 week away from the NFL draft. Well, it'll be day 2 at this point, if you're seeing this on Friday. But this is episode 77 of Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. And I'm your host, Joe Goodberry, which means we are at the doorstep. It is Christmas Eve, basically. And we'll have one more show before the draft, not including this one. And that'll be Tuesday's episode where I'll have my final mock draft for what I think the Bengals will do. Set up some hopes and wants and needs. And we went over a lot of players in the last episode. So if you didn't see that, we used Dane Brugler's Beast to rank players and decide if we like them at their spots. And people had a lot of questions about why I didn't like this guy or that guy or yada, yada, yada. Well, today's the day where all of the work that myself and my team has done, shout outs to guys like Neil, Mike Sands, draft guy Jared, Jake Lisco. Every year we put together a spreadsheet for the draft, and then this is going to be your guide for draft night for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You'll be able to go in there and see who's the best available players. You'll see how we ranked them. You'll see how we scored them based on the film, but you'll also get all of the data. And what we do is we take our film grades as if we were scouting them and writing them up and projecting them into the NFL. We use consensus grades from around the internet to help balance us. And, maybe we're way far ahead or below a guy. And then we take the data, all the predictive data we can find and that we've used and cultivated over the years that helps point us in the right direction. And those of you who follow and subscribe on Twitter to me for a long time, this stuff works and the numbers work. It's not foolproof. There's no magic number, but it can point you in the correct direction. And so you'll be able to go through and say they pick a guy in the 3rd round. You'll be able to pull up the sheet, go to offensive line, go see who this guy is and see how many sacks he gave up and the pressure rate and the yada, yada, yada. Everything you could want is in this spreadsheet. There'll be a link below here. Allow me to go through it right now. I want to talk through it, show you what's in it. I want to show you the work we've done. I want to show you and explain some of the things that you'll see in the spreadsheet, and then click on it afterwards and enjoy it at your own leisure. And welcome to draft season. Merry Draftmas, as we would say. Enjoy the spreadsheet. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments or hit me up on Twitter at Joe Goodberry. So let's dive in. So when you open up the sheet, this is what you're going to see on the first page, and all the tables and all the pages are down at the bottom. You'll see the board, which is the overall rankings, the credits, if you need information on any of us or where to find us, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, everything is in here. But first, let's just take a peek at the top ranked players, and you'll see what's on this board here. This is still going to get filled out here, data only score, which will happen in the next couple of days as we get time. It's something we just added, and I'll explain in a second. But Caleb Williams comes out on our board as a 90.4. Malik Neighbors is a 90.2. And you may be saying right away, Marvin Harrison, why isn't he higher? Well, he didn't test. And you'll see that as we get to the wide receiver page. When you don't test, it creates a risk in your profile. I've discussed this. Non-testers have less of a chance to make a Pro Bowl than testers and elite testers. But we know Marvin Harrison's going to go top 6, 7. That's why he didn't test. So it hurts him a little more, but it really doesn't matter. This is more like a percentage or a threshold, if you will. He's got 87% chance of being a number 1 wide receiver, which is a great shot. If you want to take him top 5, this doesn't say not to take him top 5, even though he's ranked 8th overall. So this is more of, hey, good. My favorite players are ranked 80 and above. Feel free to take them in the first round whenever you want. Even guys like Sauce Gardner didn't grade as high as they should have because he didn't do everything and he didn't hit some of his data profile. Take them. The numbers say they're good enough. That's the idea there. But it does say someone like Brock Bowers, completely worth the pick if he gets there to 18 for the Bengals and an 88.9. Very clean profile. J.J. McCarthy comes in at quarterback number 2. What he did at 20 years old last year for Michigan, very, very impressive. The data loves him. They love young players. Young players have more of a chance of success than the older 23, 24-year-old prospects that we're going to run into. And the first one in here is Peyton Wilson at linebacker that you may say, whoa, how's that guy so high? His profile is amazing. If he didn't have the injuries, and we'll get to the linebacker group and talk about all of them, but if he didn't have the injuries, his is across the board really, really fantastic. Looks like Sean Lee of the Cowboys, maybe with the injuries too, how Lee was in the second half of his career. Two corners up here going the top 10, Quinion Mitchell, Terrion Arnold. This corner class at the top is super strong. Cooper DeJean, same thing, super strong. Roman Dunze comes in at 13, but again, we like him. He's very, very good. Feel free to take him in the top 10. Johnny Newton comes in as our top defensive tackle, 85.6, and this is without him testing. Had he have tested and tested like an elite athlete, Johnny Newton would have been top 6, in my opinion. I could see that easily making up the 3 points there and getting him into the top 6. His profile looks like that of a Pro Bowl to all pro player, and I won't be surprised if he is that guy in a couple of years. A couple offensive linemen you may be curious about. Tali Fuanga, the next offensive lineman. And then we have Olu Fashanu at 21, Byron Murphy just ahead of him at 20. If you're wondering about those two, which hopefully that's who's there on the board for us at 18, right? If it goes this way, we would take either one of those guys. One of the highest ranked guys on this list that it's going to be completely above everybody else is Ben Sinnott. His profile is super strong. He matches up very similarly to Sam Laporta. I would not be surprised. Actually, he's the betting favorite as of right now to be the number 2 tight end taken. Wouldn't be surprised if that's a round 2 pick, and I would be all for it. So the sheet goes down. This is what you'll see. You'll see Sands, if you know Mike Santagata, he puts in his grade. I put in my grade, and then we'll see the formulas as we go over to every page. But it goes down. You're going to find these guys ranked all the way down. You want to stay, if possible, picking 80 plus, and it can dip down into the 79. We'll still get a lot of good 79s, like Amarius Mims is right on the line. Chop Robinson's right on the line at 79.9. Braden Fisk at a 79.8. You want to stay right in that area if you're picking in the top 49 where the Bengals are. So we've got about Brian Thomas here, if you want to consider him at 47 at a 78.8, Adonai Mitchell at a 78.7. If you want to consider those guys with the grouping above, I wouldn't be against that at all. We expect them to be gone. But if the Bengals can pick from this group, we've had about a 50-50 success rate in past years throughout doing this. And that's much better rate than you're going to get by picking randomly in round 2, picking the Jackson Carmens or the Drew Samples. So when we get to that point, if they could stay above this line, and we've got 48 of them, they should be able to pick from this grouping above. They'll have a really good shot of landing 2 good players. After that, the number used to be 75 and up. You'll see it's right around here. Zach Frazier being the last guy at 84. Again, the Bengals pick at 80. They should be able to pick from this grouping. Don't dip below it. That's what one of my hopes is they don't reach too far below. We'll see previous years where they definitely have. And then they pick 97 as well. And you want to stay above 73 throughout as long as you can throughout the draft. And that's Tyler Nubbin, Matt Lee, Blake Watson, even at 72.9. If you can stay with these guys, and there's 7 of them, you're doing a good job. So we expect guys below this list to be taken first. And there's some that you might even like in here. Isaac Garendo. I like, Dwayne Carter, Dwight McLaughlin. There are guys down here that we're going to like. Marshawn Nealon could go way high. So there are going to be plenty of these players that are 73 and above available in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. I think we had 12 of them go undrafted last year. So it'll let you know that these guys will be available. And they're going to pick below it, so don't freak out. It's just that your chances of success are much greater by picking the guys with complete profiles. So what does that look like? Just to go quickly by the quarterback page. So Caleb Williams is a 90.4 after he had an adjustment. Joe Burrow's a 90.2. So we plug in old quarterbacks or old players that the Bengals drafted to see what they would look like in this formula as well. So Ryan Finley at a 76, which is a mid-round pick for a quarterback. Running back, we're starting there. And a lot of people said, not a lot of people, there was a couple comments. There was some discussion in the last video. Why are we talking about quarterback? Well, I'll tell you why. Travion Williams and Chris Evans are, they're nothing. They're jags is what you call them, just a guy. If you can land some of these players in here and go by the score here, you're in good shape. So what do we look for when we're scoring a player completely? And if you scroll down, you'll see the Bengals players down here as well. They're former draft picks. Look at Joe Mixon, that 87.6 tape grade. Back when I was doing this, I had Joe Mixon as the 9th best player in that draft class. He had an 86 grade overall on tape, which is higher than everyone. I gave Jonathan Brooks an 82 in this class. I was super high on Mixon. Mixon had an extremely strong profile. When you look at it and you see an 86 and the score actually bumps him to an 87, it means the data actually likes him a little bit more than I did. And you can see it here is RAS, which is your relative athletic score, your MSA, which is market share adjusted production, and then his PFF formula, which it takes in all this advanced data. Really, really liked him. Really complimentary. You can see the data score right here, 88.6 plus our 86 on the tape. Spits him out really high. Now, older players, guys from like 2013 don't have PFF data scores, so their scores are incomplete, but it gives you an idea of where Giovanni Bernard would have landed just by using the market share adjusted production and his relative athletic scores. We're looking on the right side here, and my picture might be in the front. I'll figure out how to get myself out of there. But 74.3 may have been higher with advanced data. You can also see what they average at this, what they normally pick. So as we go here, you see the premium pick, which is the first 3 rounds. They normally pick somebody 75.9 or above. So we're looking at this Audric Estime and above will be the guys they look at for rounds 3 and earlier. And maybe one of these guys will still be there in round 4. Maybe Estime will be. Maybe Tyrone Tracy will still be there. Maybe Will Shipley will still be there. I think those will be the guys they really like. But you can also see average size, average weight for what they typically draft. So let's say 6'1" and some change, 214 with 10-inch hands for the premium picks. Who fits that? Audric Estime, okay, 6 foot or 5'11" and 3/8, 221, 10-inch hands. Wait, how many 10-inch hands guys do they draft? Joe Mixon, right? Chase Brown, 9.75 for Burkhead, 9.75 for Rodney Anderson, 10.375 for Jeremy Hill, 10 for Chris Evans. They like big hands at running back. There are not a lot of them. I already highlighted in blue for you. There are not a lot. Audric Estime is the one at the top of this class that really fits it in. So this type of data lets you go through it, dig through it, have a good time. We've got things in here like rushing grades, receiving grades. That's the more generic stuff you can find. But you see how many zone runs they had, how many gap runs they had, their career yards per attempt, yards after contact per attempt, the percentile that puts them in amongst all draft prospects, the explosive run percentile, career touches and career fumbles per touch. Look at the Bengals. Guys like Joe Mixon were fumbling every 92 touches in college. He ended up never fumbling in the NFL. How much does it matter? We don't know. But guys like Marshawn Lloyd with once every 36 carries, that's a bit scary. So use this to give yourself an idea. If we want to stick to around 73 and above here, last guy here is Marshawn Lloyd. Maybe you can get down to Blake Corum. I wouldn't take these guys until day 3. So we're talking rounds 4, 5, 6, 7 for these guys. And the hard part is, and the part I want to stress too, when you're looking at this, it doesn't mean these guys will be bad players. Like Isaac Garendo doesn't mean he's going to be a bad player. It just means there are spots in his profile that may suggest he won't be a running back 1 type. Now, that's fine. If you just need a running back 2 type and you're in the 4th round and you really like Isaac Garendo when you're doing your mock, go ahead, take him. This wouldn't say not to. The guys it would say not to take are these guys down at the bottom. There's even guys down here I like Jace McElwain. And he's got a great profile other than he did not test. So if we scroll over to his relative athletic score, you'll see a 25 in here. That's an estimate based on a day 3 pick. Day 2 picks get a 50, like Braylon Allen. Day 1 picks get an estimated 75. That's the way to balance it. It's how we've always done it. So you can see someone like Jace McClellan outplaying that 56 and maybe not getting drafted. Maybe. We'll see. I expect him to. Wide receiver real fast. So as you see the grouping, you see their former players. I'm going to start there just like I did with running back. Jamar Chase with a 90.1. AJ Green with an 88.7. John Ross with 81.8. You may be confused. Guys, he was a really good prospect. Look at his data grade over here, 87. I had him as a fringe first rounder. 79 is just below. You want 80 and above for tape grade on first rounders. The 79 is just below. And the data says, nope, he's better than that. Actually, go ahead and take him. Like if you go over, everyone remembers John Ross dropping passes. You look at his career drop rate. Where are we at here? Career drop rate for John Ross, just 5.7. Jamar Chase was 7.8. T. Higgins was 7.5. Tyler Boyd was 5.4. It wasn't on tape, guys. And, it is what it is. But successes for this formula. Marvin Jones, who I loved, I had him 38th overall on the board back in 2012. The data also agreed 79 overall for him. T. Higgins, 77. Tyler Boyd, 75. Like I said, you want to stay over 75. Ryan Whalen came out real high for this. Whatever. You can't control it all. We should have Josh Malone up above Auden Tate here. Let me grab that and pull it. There. Order. We need order. Mohamed Sanu being a 70 is an interesting one. So that gives you an example of the guys 70 to 73 that you may really like, and they may be good players. Mohamed Sanu is a good player. Did he ever turn into anything special? No, he got a good second contract, but like his stamp on the NFL and on your team is moderate at best, right? So that's what you should be looking at when you see this list above and you see these guys like Javon Baker at a 72, Roman Wilson at a 71, Ricky Pearsall at a 70. You can even go even lower. Some of these guys, maybe Jalen McMillan, who's down here as a 69.6. Maybe he's just a Mohamed Sanu for you. So where do you feel comfortable drafting that? Is that the third round? I could do that in the third round. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I would be with it. And taking a Mohamed Sanu is not a bad thing. So when you see the grade, don't get too upset and offended by it. You may ask, though, for the guys who were here last year, you may ask, why is Andre Osibach and Charlie Jones so low in the low 50s? They'd be right here. That's pretty low. But the big thing the Bengals really like when we're looking at this is breakout age percentile right here. You see all the blue? These are all players that are 50 and above on the breakout age. They only really spent, and what this means is breakout age for those of you that don't know. When you become 20% of your team's passing output, or maybe total offensive output, when you become 20% of your total offensive output of the team, you get a breakout age. So how old were you when this happened? If we scroll up, you'll see the ages for these guys. I didn't enter it for the veterans we have on the Bengals. But Malik Neighbors, when he was 19.1 at the start of the season, he became a go-to player on his offense. And that puts him in the 86th percentile. The Bengals like to take guys who produced at a young age. The only guys they did not were Kobe Hamilton, Charlie Jones, James Wright, and Andre Osibach. Day 3 picks. Day 3 picks, they're willing to go outside of it. Otherwise, they want that. And if you're wondering why like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd outproduce that 4.5 speed and that regular relative athletic score of a 41 and a 51, look at those breakout ages of the 96th percentile and 92 percentile, meaning those guys were big parts of their offense at 19 years old and even earlier, 18 and some change for both of them. So we go up to this class and we look, we've got a lot of red. Would the Bengals take these guys before day 3? I'm not so sure. So when we're looking at this, who fits the Bengals? Who fits what they're looking for? I think Troy Franklin fits a lot. I think Xavier Worthy fits. I believe Keon Coleman and Brendan Rice fit. Devontae Walker is right in there, right at that range of 48. So we give him a blue there. Because really, when you look at it in past history, 40 is good. The Bengals like to stay above 50, it seems. But 40, you're okay. You can survive. So maybe they would even take a Ladd McConkey. And Brian Thomas at 18, at 38, A.D. Mitchell at 38, I don't think they would do it. So it's interesting that if they do take Brian Thomas, it would be very weird for them. Other guys to consider, Jalen McMillan at 70, Johnny Wilson, 82, or that's Taj Washington, I'm sorry, 82, Anais Smith at 83, Malachi Corley at the 50 mark. But look at these guys that are in the red. Xavier Legette, he's a ton of fun, and his story's great. I understand why he was a late breakout, but man, I don't know if the Bengals are going to be down with that. Johnny Wilson at 27 percentile, Jermaine Burton at 14, Roman Wilson at 13. I don't think they'll take him. Devontae Walker, they had a meeting with him, probably trying to figure out why it took you so long and why you're only running go balls, basically. And then Jalen Polk at 28%. I don't know if the Bengals would do it. They really haven't done it before. So again, use this, have fun with it, look at all the data to the right. You could figure out the drop rate and the contested catch rate and who's playing the slot, who's playing wide, yada, yada, yada. There's so much in here that you can have fun with. I'm going to keep it moving because I want to talk about each position at least a little bit. Tight end room. Bengals have not drafted tight end well. You look down here, right? Tyler Eifert in 86. He was a first rounder. Many projected him to go top 10 to 12, if you remember at that time, 2013. But Tyler Kroft, third round pick. Mason Schreck, seventh rounder. Uzama, fifth rounder. Drew Sample, second round. It's why we nearly had a heart attack when they drafted Drew Sample in round 2. At 58.8, we're talking this guy had no receiving production at all. That 36th percentile receiving production, running a 4.71, which isn't bad. You want to be better than a 4.75, and they're towing that line way too often, other than Tyler Eifert. But then the 10-yard of being a 1.64, 1.65, 1.66 is not ideal. It's not where you want to be. He still ended up with a solid RES score because he was average in everything to above average in everything, just not great at anything. That production score, though, of 36 receiving percentile, you look at his grades across the board, you'll see this, and it's just sad. I can't believe he went in the second round. There's nothing there that would suggest he would ever become a even tight end 1 type. CJ Uzama outplayed that 62, to an extent. He never really had more than one really good year where he was probably should have been a tight end 2, but still, I would say he outplayed that a little bit. Kroft got a second contract, bounced around a little bit. These are all 60s and 50s are throwaway picks. You shouldn't be targeting those guys with any type of premium picks. Fifth round for Uzama is fine with me. I don't have a problem spending a 62 in the fifth round. But if you look at this class above that, there's 3 guys you want: Brock Bowers, Ben Sinnott, Jaheim Bell. Then you would take Jatavion Sanders and Cade Stover. But where are you going to take them? They're ranked right now. You'll see a consensus ranked, which takes in all the rankings across the internet, averages them, and spits it out where everyone thinks they should go. Cade Stover, 84th. Will we take him in the third round at 80? I'm not big on it. I've already talked about that. Jatavion Sanders, 49, right where we sit. Not big on that as well. But once you get down to these guys, they're telling me that Theo Johnson and Jared Wiley could be the tight end 2 taken. Take them. Please let somebody else take them. We are not interested at that point. If we're talking below 70 grades here. And tight end is easy to project. It really is. Give me someone fast. Give me someone athletic. Give me someone with production. And then you go over to like what constitutes production and PFF formula when you get here. Things that are a little darker green at the top are the data that has the most predictive value to find Pro Bowl tight ends and starting number 1, tight end 1 types, guys that are getting over 750 yards in a season. You want to take the receiving grade. You want to take the career yards per route run percentile. You want to take the career missed tackles force per reception. Yak per reception. When you get Yak as a tight end, that's what Brock Bowers is. He's in 95th, 92nd percentile. Ben Sinnott, 56th and 93rd percentile. Jaheim Bell, 97th and 99th, 98.7 percentile. Ooh, let me get Jaheim Bell. You're telling me Jaheim Bell, let's go over to the consensus. 157, 4th, 5th round? That's where you're telling me he's going? Please give me Jaheim Bell. I've already done this. All right, let's get to the O-line real fast. And you'll see where former Bengals draft picks were first. It helps set the stage, I think. Jonah Williams down here at a 79.3, Jake Fisher at a 75, Cedric Ogbuehi at a 71.5, and then Jackson Carman at a 65, Deontay Smith at a 61. So again, Jackson Carman, what are you doing in round 2, right? How are we doing this? Cedric Ogbuehi at 71.5. How are we drafting these guys at those spots? And Cedric Ogbuehi was 23. Like, we're talking about a guy who had an injury, didn't test before the draft, right? So let's go over to the guys who didn't test. Oh, Cedric Ogbuehi and Jackson Carman. Surprise. Didn't test. And then Jonah Williams doesn't test well. Deontay Smith doesn't test well. Fisher does, but he ends up with a heart issue and ends up being small anyways for the position. I digress. Let's go to the top. You also see, if you look all the way to the left here, contact. These are the reported visits from the combine, from the Senior Bowls, from the draft visits to what's the word I'm looking for? Impromptu visits, like going through the hall, anything that's been reported of Bengals having interest with these players, we mark down for you. So you'll see it on the left-hand side. You'll know who they're looking at. We go to last year's sheet. Only DJ Ivey and DJ Turner did not have reported contact in our sheet. All the other draft picks did. So at least can give you a semi-realistic idea of who you should be looking at here. The O-line class as a whole. The big one that's going to jump out is Tyler Guyton here to 71.9. This is the Cedric Ogbuehi of this class. Whatever team takes him, you're taking a risk. Doesn't mean he'll be bad. These numbers don't mean they'll be bad. They just mean you're taking a huge risk at that spot. We've had guys that be a 71 and a 72 pan out. It's just the guys that are 75 plus pan out more often. 73 plus pan out more often. 80 plus pan out about 50% of the time. So do you want to start picking guys that are that low when the data is saying, the formula is saying, Patrick Paul should be a much better pick in round 2. He's not supposed to go in round 1. Consensus rank of 66. Should go in round 2. Let's hope he does. I mean, is that what the Bengals are banking on? His footwork is a mess. You'll see it on the tape grades here. Draft guy Jared, Bengals fans, those are trench guys. They love the trenches. They were a little bit higher, Jared was, than I was. I give him a 76. 76 to me is like a early third round grade. I wouldn't prioritize him round 2 because I thought he was a bit rough. So when you see the tape grade, you'll get my personal feelings on these players. These scores are not my personal feelings. We'll go back for a second to running back. Bucky Irving, let's say. Where's Bucky? Bucky, where are you? I gave him a 77. That is late second, early third on tape. He looks like Devin Singletary to me. The data score is at a 58, much lower on him. And a lot of it was the way he tested. Look all the way to the right, that 22.2. Not ideal. Maybe he's got a 65% chance to be Devin Singletary now. What's that worth? 65% chance to be a middling starting running back? No thanks. I'm not taking that until the 5th, 4th at best. All right, let's stay with the O-line. The O-line here has, like we had Creed Humphrey, super high. Sam Cosmi, we're both in the top 20 on our boards because of this stuff, because athleticism matters, because the data from PFF matters. Things like true pass set grade, number AJ here is the letter, AJ 23 TPS is 23 true pass set. Maybe I'll mark it in and put notes on all these so that you can tell what they say. True pass sets carries over. So that's why someone like Patrick Paul and his 89.8 gives him a 96 percentile true pass set grade, really helps out his grade. They're saying he's going to be at least a good pass blocker in the NFL. Despite his issues and despite his flaws, it's still hard to get around him. And you'll be able to see things like, all right, well, how often was he actually in true pass sets? That's this one right here. Look at that. Just 40 for Amarius Mims last year. 195 for J.C. Latham. Troy Fautanu. Roger Rosengarten. 217. That's the guy we should be talking about, not Patrick Paul. Roger Rosengarten with that 77.6 in round 2. I'd do it. I'm down. Interior O-line, Graham Barton, Jackson Powers Johnson. You'll see the guys the Bengals have drafted. 54 for Trey Hill, 62 for Hakeem Adeniji, 66.7 for Billy Price, first round pick. And Frank Ragnow was an 80-something. So, like, not even close. Like, you get a third round pick. If you're telling me, if I'm in that room with you and they're like, maybe we should move up and make sure we get Frank Ragnow. I'm like, well, what's the alternative? Well, we're going to take Billy Price. I'd be like, give it the second round pick. I don't care. Move up. Cordell Wilson, a 70.8, which is respectable. He's definitely played in that range, which would put him right here with like Cedric Van Pran, Dominic Pooney, guys that are probably third round picks, maybe fourth rounders. Wilson was a fourth rounder. So that's fair expectation for him at a 70.8. Very similar to the offensive tackle class. You'll get a lot of the same data to the right. Again, you want to look at the one thing I'll touch on while we're here. Breakout age percentile. We only have it for receivers and offensive line. Offensive line, this is something that Neil Engelberger's working on. He's been collecting data going back to 2016, I want to say. There is predictive value, just like it is at receiver. Receivers got longer data on this. We can go back and look at breakout age all the way to like 2009, I think it is. So not as far back, but it's pretty conclusive so far. You want players that played well at a young age. And we're talking guys like Jackson Powers Johnson, Zach Frazier, Tanner Bortolini, and then guys down here. Like these might be some gems. These guys are starting in a couple years, might be why. You can still take the guys that are in the 70s, though. Graham Barton, Cooper Beebe, those guys have a great shot. The guys that are in the 30th percentile makes it tough. You get down to the 20th percentile with Dominic Pooney, scary. So something to be aware of. It's not as mainstream data as some of the others. I still got to get the DNs in here. I will do that. That's something I'll be working on throughout the rest of the week. Not that, who knows if we'll take a DN or not. Leatu Latu. I mean, this guy is super. We go over to his data score and 88.4. We're talking top 5 player in this class based on the data. Extremely strong. Let's spend some time. Johnny Newton versus Byron Murphy. Hey, we like Byron Murphy. 83.8. We like him a whole bunch. So I know I've spent a lot of time talking Johnny Newton. The data says, like, look at Murphy. I've got an 80, which is like, yeah, end of the first round, maybe second round. Draft guy Jared, beginning of the second round. Sands likes him a little bit higher in the first round. That averages out to be an 80, which is right at the cutoff line for first round pick. But the data, let's go over to the data only, 88.7, higher than Johnny Newton, highest in this class. You wonder why he's getting up there so much, why people have liked him throughout this draft process. Things like run stop percentile puts him in the 86th percentile. Pass rush win rate, 98.5 percentile. True pass rush, 96 percentile. True pass rush win percentile, 99.6. Byron Murphy's got a profile, man. And then he tested. Johnny Newton did not, so we got a 75 in here. Murphy did. A 92nd percentile athlete with 91st percentile production, and then the 83rd percentile formula from PFF. Absolutely killer. This guy is a good player. And the size isn't really much of a difference between these guys at all. Bigger hands, though. Maybe that's the thing. Age, we're talking like a week apart right here. They're good players. Darius Robinson's an end that'll kick inside. He's probably a second round pick, projected at around 35th right now. Braden Fisk comes out high. Michael Hall comes out high, but they both may be Hall more than Fisk, maybe one-dimensional players. Not sure if they just missed the 80 mark, which is like these guys can be multi-time Pro Bowlers. These guys are more, maybe they'll make a Pro Bowl. Maybe they'll just be impact players for you on your roster and you'll move forward with it. But there's a couple others that I do like in here. No, you'll see what I want to touch on here at this position is nose tackles. First one is Devondre Sweat here at just a 74. The nose tackles are emboldened here on the left side on that position. Nose tackles are going to score low. They will score low. Like here's someone I like, Jordan Jefferson, and he's 313 pounds. He gets a 66 only. He may go in the third round or so. But why do these guys score low? Typically, their market share adjusted production, you see them, they're all in the red. All these guys that are nose tackles down here, look at them, they're all right here in this section. They're all in the red. They're not going to get the tackles. They're not going to get the sacks. And market share adjusted, we'll spend a second there, takes in strength of schedule, takes in your age, takes in how good your team was, takes in how, so let's say you get 30 sacks as a team and I have 5. Is that better than the guy that gets 8 sacks when the team got 60 sacks, right? 8 and 5. Well, the guy had 8 sacks. You only had 5. Yeah, but that whole team was getting off on these quarterbacks, all right? That whole team was just unleashing on these guys. We really weren't. We play a different style defense. So that takes in all of that into account and gives you a market share adjusted production score. And then you'll see with the nose tackles, they're not going to test very well. Their PFF numbers aren't going to be very well. There's no predictive value at nose tackle. You just come over to this AR right here, which that shows career A-gap snaps, give you an idea who has plays nose tackle, who has the size of a nose tackle, and maybe who has defended the run really well. After that, that's it. Throw a third-round pick at one of those guys and keep it moving. A couple positions left to get through. Linebacker. The Bengals have made a lot of contact and have routinely kept in contact with North Carolina's Cedric Gray. 21.5, one of the youngest linebackers in this class. I wonder why Peyton Wilson scores so high. We can't really account for injuries when the guy tested as well as he did, 98.9. PFF formula, 87. Market share adjusted production, 85 percentile. These boys are good. These linebackers falls off a little bit. There's a couple guys here that are ranked pretty high. Jeremiah Trotter, 86, 76. That makes a lot of sense. We'll take that. This guy here, though, 54, Junior Colson, comes in at a 73. The tape was good, actually. I've only seen clips. I haven't watched these guys in depth. If they draft a linebacker, we'll have to spend an episode watching those guys. So I'm not going to spend too much time here, but Colson comes up much lower for us on our sheet. Corner, we're probably going to spend a pick at corner, right? Bengals have had some contact with these guys. We'll see how it goes and see if they pull the trigger. But to start at the top here, look at these scores. 88, 87, 85, 84, 83. These guys are good. I know we're scared of corner. I know they've picked too many corners. But, man, you're telling me that Quinion Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, or Nate Wiggins couldn't be the best players available on the board? They're all ranked in the top 24 on the consensus. We all liked them on tape. I liked all of them on tape as first round grades. And then the data profiles for all of them, let's scroll over to that. Data scores 92 for Mitchell, 91.5, 91.7, 91.5 for the top two, 88, 86, 86. That is strong. These guys have a great shot of being a starting 1 or 2 corner. And to be honest with you, a lot of corner ones have great athleticism, great ball production, and then they have great coverage grades from PFF. So we go over to coverage here. Look at that 90 percentile, 98 for Terrion Arnold, 90 or 92 for Terrion Arnold, 99 almost for Quinion Mitchell, 93 for Kool-Aid McKinstry. Career coverage, let's move over a little more. Oh, that was overall. I'm sorry, that was overall grade. I wanted to be over here. Coverage for the career percentile, 99.7 for Quinion Mitchell, 92 for Cooper DeJean, 91 for Kool-Aid McKinstry, 91, you want to keep going down, DJ James down here. That's who the Athletics Dane Brugler had us taking, 91. When you get into the 90s here, high 80s, 86, 88, you are in good shape. You're in good shape with those guys. I think they're worth the pick. Don't be surprised if the Bengals have high grades on them as well. Safety is what it is. It didn't shake out the way I think they would expect. A lot of people have Bullard the highest. It didn't come out that way for us. Cole Bishop and Jaden Hicks came out the highest. Who else up here? Nubbin. Yeah, Nubbin did not. He barely hit the cutoff line of 73. I would not spend a second-round pick on him where he's projected to be. And then you can get to the end page, and it's got the consensus rankings if you're interested in all that stuff, and it's got all this data and where all the rankings are and 40 times and all the information. All the information derives from this page in a lot of ways. Then you can get a Bengals contact page. Who have they had contact with? Who are their top 30 visits with? We've got a lot of them reported. Guys, this is fun. This is good stuff. Let me tell you, just today finishing up, I spent 9 hours working on this thing. I was off today. Spent 9 hours finishing spreadsheets and formulas and getting old players updated in there. I probably put 200 hours into this over the draft process. Other than the book, the first start book we did and released in training camp, this is my biggest project of the year. I hope you guys have fun with it. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Twitter, down below here. DM me if you want. My DMs are open on Twitter. Enjoy yourself. It's a lot of fun. Keep it handy. We'll have a page ready for you for draft night that will eliminate players as they get picked. It'll be a best player available. You'll see BPA board when that comes up. That'll be what's on the clock and what's available during draft night. This is episode 77, Andrew Whitworth episode of Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. I am Joe Goodberry, and it's draft season. Let's go.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.